Hi, and welcome to Module 1. We're going to be focusing on the first page of the PLP, the Begin with the End brainstorm. What we're doing here is we're going to look at the content standards that we have in place that we want to cover in this unit. The unit I'm going to be reviewing here is a writing review for a senior English class, so ELA 4, 12th grade, first semester. It's going to be the first project right of the year. Looking at the content standards that I'm supposed to cover this year, one of the things I need to make sure my students have a really good foundation in is writing. So we're going to focus on those writing TEKs, so TEK 13, the writing process, 15, the expository writing, and 16, we're going to dabble in a little persuasive writing. I'm going to skip personal narrative, given that on the STAR it's no longer tested in high school, and we'll do some reflection and other stuff later to hit on that. So normally when I do this, I actually write out the specific TEKs, but since the writing process and the expository writing and persuasive writing TEKs are so dense, I'm just going to number them out. It's just easier this way, but you do need to know the TEKs, so you should know what each individual TEK that you're putting down here are. Knowing the TEKs is the number one thing you can do to help yourself write good projects. That point blank period. Knowing the TEKs is the number one thing you can do to write good projects. If you don't know what you're teaching, it's going to be really hard to write a good project talking about those skills. Because the idea here, especially when we get down to project context, is the question I always ask is, what does this look like in real life? And if you don't know what it is, how are you going to be able to see those connections with real life? So the more you learn about your TEKs, the better off you're going to be. Learn your TEKs. Know them. Know the wording. It's silly, but it is important. I don't care if you use Common Core. I've written about that, but a standard's a standard. You have to know those content standards. All right, so moving down to the context. In terms of why are we doing this? Well, we know that writing is a huge issue on our campus. And even with these seniors, a lot of them are not writing at a level where it's going to be acceptable at college. So we know that writing is an emergent skill. Let's be positive here. It's an emergent skill. We got some potential, but we're not where we need to be yet. So we really need to focus in on it. And with seniors, it's getting down to the wire, because in November they have to have their Apply Texas applications done, which means that their senior college essays have to be done here in the next couple months. So we have got to make sure that they're writing at a very high level, or at least a high enough level that they get consideration for college. And then also, as seniors, they need to be the experts. They need to be the people that, got it. And so I want them presenting to the rest of the campus about what is good writing. So that's going to be the premise here. The context is our students are going to be able to tell us what is a perfect paragraph, what is a good paragraph, and they're going to be able to teach that to our 9th and 10th grade class through their social studies and ELA classes. So let's bullet this up and make it look pretty. Again, here you want to focus on what do these skills look like in real life. So that's the major crux of how you do this, is you really want to look at what does it look like. So moving over to instructional strategies, we'll get this centered where it's supposed to be. I'm going to use model text. I love using model text. It's really cool to let them see me struggle, because, you're an English teacher, you should know everything. Well, I don't always get it right the first time, as you can see by my spell checking here. I'm going to do DOLs, but with my DOLs, I'm going to make them myself. All right, I will probably borrow some from other sources from the internet, but I want to make them relevant. So I'm going to talk about things that kids like. I'm going to talk about things that interest my students. And so I'm going to make them myself with relevant sentences and paragraphs, because there's nothing worse than reading Little Johnny blah blah blah. The next thing we're going to talk about is we're going to do explicit vocabulary. Our campus does explicit vocabulary. It is a requirement through TLI. So I'm going to use explicit vocabulary to talk about the sentence framework in terms of introductions, blah, 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 all that stuff, as well as the parts of speech, because as seniors, they should know what a participle is. They should know what a preposition, a noun, all that stuff. And then we're going to have individual practice. It's very important for them to be able to write and write individually. While we will do some group work and there will be collaboration, I want to give them a chance to do it on their own and get valuable feedback. And then they will be doing their final project in a group, so there will be some collaborative learning. So now, what do I need? What do I need in order to get this done? Well, we're going to start off with we're going to need sentence strips because we are going to diagram sentences. I know it's a lost art, but I think it's still important. I'm going to use the Schoolhouse Rock videos, unlock your adjectives, all those. They're funny. Kids think they're goofy, but they love them. We're going to show them examples of PSA since that's what they're doing. They're going to produce a public service announcement about why you need to use a good paragraph. I'm going to provide them with exemplar texts. That's important so they see what they should be doing. I want to provide them models of good and bad. That way they can look at, okay, this is what they did wrong, so they can analyze the good and bad. And then I'm going to start planting those seeds by giving them some college essay prompts so they can start thinking about how to write. And so a lot of those individual practices are going to come from those college essay prompts where they use the prompt to practice writing that perfect paragraph. Really, really significant, really important to give them real stuff. In the enduring understanding years, 30 years from now, when my kids are doctors, heart surgeons, physicists, whatever they're going to be, I want them to remember that a good paragraph can make the difference between a desired result and an unfavorable one. And the reason why that's important is they need to understand that it's not just, it doesn't matter what you're going to do. It doesn't matter if you're going to be a car mechanic. It doesn't matter if you're going to be a heart surgeon. You need to be able to write clearly, concisely, and in a manner that other people can read, or else you're going to have differences. You're going to have problems. You could lose a job because your cover letter is not good enough. You could lose a job because your resume wasn't written well. So they need to understand that writing is important.